Hi guys, Dan Fox here. Just wanted to thank you guys for being prompt and being on time. I can tell you we are waiting for a few people still to come on, and we've had a few messages, text messages and emails to say a couple of people are running a couple of minutes late. We will be kicking it off very sharp at probably around 6:02, I would say. We'll just allow an extra 2 minutes for people to get online. So just bear with us, only another few minutes. Thank you for being patient, and we'll come back to you very, very shortly. Thank you, guys. Okay, guys, Dan Fox here. Thank you very much for being patient. We had a couple of late people joining the webinar, so almost everyone that registered now has joined, which is fantastic. Thank you very much for being prompt. You should be able to see my screen. Please, guys, be understanding this is my first GoToWebinar webinar, so I'm a little bit new to this system, as maybe some of you are as well. So if you have a question, there is a way you can raise your hand or you can chat, type a question in. We will be answering questions at the end. Both myself and Drew will be available to answer any questions at the end, and those that want to stay on a little bit longer after the allocated time, we can answer any additional questions as well. Right. Let me just check. I think we're good to go now. So no one has any questions or any issues. They can hear me clearly at this point in time. Okay, no one's putting their hands up or any concerns, so we're good to go. Right, so this seminar, a lot of information, guys. We're going to get through some really good content for you. We're going to give you some good information, and at the end there's an offer to save you guys some money, and if you're interested in participating in the USA property market, there's a great offer there that you may be interested in. You'll find with us, USA Property Deals, there's absolutely no pressure. So if you're interested in doing something with us, that's fantastic. We'll share with you what we've done, but there's absolutely no salesman. There's no pressure around any sort of sales or anything like that. So you know, feel comfortable with that. Right, let's get into it. Guys, there is a quick legal disclaimer. Our legal team have asked me to put up on the screen for about 30 seconds for you guys to have a read of, so you understand that. Excellent. I'm just checking a couple of messages here that have come in from people. Thank you for that. Right. So, some of you that have registered for this seminar don't know me. My name's Dan Fox, and you don't know USA Property Deals. I'm not going to bore you with a heap of information, but I'm going to give you just a brief understanding about who we are, who I am, and what my history is, etc. I run several businesses. Fox Finance Group predominantly, and within Fox Finance Group is foxcarloans.com.au, foxhomeloans.com.au, foxbusinessloans.com.au. Also, as you know, CEO of USA Property Deals and an investor in the USA property market myself. I have a number of properties over there in LLC names. That's an American company name. Very passionate about jet skis, father of a couple of beautiful boys, and of course have a degree and some other qualifications. If you'd like to know any more about me, if you have trouble sleeping, certainly have a look at danfox.com.au, and it'll put you to sleep pretty quickly. It's a little website some of my staff put together with some information about myself. You'd probably, I'll just very quickly introduce you to the American team. So Dave Lovegrove is an Aussie, originally from Noosa here in Queensland. He's been over in the Vegas property market for about 12 years now. Sorry, I probably went a little bit quick there. At last count, I saw in Dave's portfolio just over 100 investment properties, so pretty serious investor. And he's been on our team since we started, and he's in charge of locating properties for our clients. Gene's a consultant in our business. He helps also providing and finding, locating properties for us in the US market, particularly in Las Vegas. Gene wrote the book, The Insider's Guide to 52 Homes in 52 Weeks, Acquire Your Real Estate Fortune Today. So Gene's very, very knowledgeable about the Las Vegas real estate market in particular. Often in some media you'll see he's actually been called Mr. Las Vegas when it comes to property. Very experienced, and he's guided us and provided a lot of knowledge and information for us as well, which is excellent to have him on the team. Now, a lot of people have said to me, you know, I have a, I guess, a finance background, conservative in nature. Worked for you know, a major Australian bank for some time, and I am a fairly conservative person. Dan, we're a bit concerned about what you're doing in the US. It sounds too good to be true. Often things that sound too good to be true, they are too good to be true. I spent a lot of time, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but over 18 months worth of my own personal research, including a 5-week expedition to America to actually go over and research the property market early in 2010 before I made my first purchase. By the end of 2010 I'd purchased my first 2 properties over there, and have continued on with various adventures over there in the property market, and have helped many clients. Some of you recently may, if you're a fan on our USA Property Deals Facebook page, you may see only a few days ago that my first client, Richard West, that bought 2 properties in Vegas, just recently emailed me through a testimonial. He was contacted by a real estate agent over there asking if he was interested in selling his properties, and he said, sure, look, give me a free valuation, and they did, and his properties, what they believe they could get for them now, has gone up 50% to what he paid for them in 2010. So he's very happy. I think the US market has turned a corner, and we will be discussing that a little bit further on in today's webinar. There are some other risks that I guess you guys need to be aware of, and one of the reasons I started USA Property Deals was because, firstly, after my investigation, I became very passionate about the USA property market. I was very interested in it myself, and there were a number of people that told me about horror stories where other Aussies had purchased properties and they'd been burnt, they'd been dudded. Something had happened, you know, they'd bought a property off eBay, or as silly as it sounds, you can buy US property on eBay, and let me tell you, you can very easily get frauded. You know, I have a saying that I talk about, you know, America is really the land of opportunity, but it is also the land of scammers. There are many people over there that will take your money and not give you what you thought you were purchasing. So after hearing some of these horror stories, I guess myself and a few others got together and said, well, let's put together a process, a system whereby our clients in Australia can purchase with confidence and safely without purchasing dud properties, without purchasing a house that's no longer there on the land, and things like that. There are so many traps, and as an Aussie investor, you know, if you're doing it all by yourself, it's a very scary thing and hard to get right. So we offer, and we'll talk about this towards the end of today's webinar, we offer an education system where if you want to do it yourself and go and find your own properties, you can, but follow our guide. We have an 11-step process. If you follow those 11 steps, you won't get burnt. In addition to that, if you want our help in finding properties, of course we can do that, and we have, you know, various things that we'll discuss at the end of the webinar if you're interested in that. But if you want to do it yourself, we've created the do-it-yourself kit, the 11 steps. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. It's really important to use a professional team over there. Trying to do it all by yourself, managing the whole thing yourself, just won't work. You really do need to learn the differences between the USA property market and the Australian property market. And if you don't educate yourself, you will get burnt. And that's why we've put together, I guess, a system to make life easier for those people that want to do that. And you need to protect yourselves, and there's many ways you can protect yourself. The most common, the easiest and the quickest, most prevalent that comes to mind is when you purchase a property in America, you purchase it in an LLC name. So that's a limited liability company. Plenty of other ways, and we can discuss some of those, and a lot of them, most of them, are in our 11 steps as well. So the 11 steps to safely and confidently invest. That's the training manual there and the DVD. We'll talk about that a bit more. Very quickly, I'd like to talk about, well, what is your main reason to invest? And I'm talking about what's your main reason to invest anywhere, not just the USA. For some people, it's financial freedom. For some people, it means retiring early or providing for your family. Some people want the cash flow, and others want capital growth. It really comes down to controlling your future and determining what's right for you. What's right for me may not necessarily be what's right for you. So you need to identify why you want to invest, and then when we know whether it's cash flow or whether it's capital growth or what your particular reason for investing is, then we can work out, well, is the USA a good strategy for you? Because it may not be for everyone. If you're interested, I'd like to share with you what my main reason is. It's them. I plan to leave properties to each of my children, and that's, I guess, my legacy and my way of leaving something, you know, when I'm not around any longer. So I'm just posing a question to you guys. Who's got a plan? And then more importantly, have you got your plan in action? I certainly do. I know a lot of people that attended very similar seminars to this 2 years ago. We held a whole series up and down the east coast of Australia, and a couple of webinars as well. And I know a few of those people are on this call today. And let me tell you, if you are acutely aware of what's happened in America in the last particularly 12 months, you'll understand that property is now going to cost you more than it cost you 18 months ago. That's okay. It's still not rebounded to the levels where it will rebound to, but it's definitely in the price range we're looking at. It's anywhere from 5 to 15 grand per property more. Why do I recommend the USA? I'm a finance guy, I'm a numbers guy. So for me, it's not emotional. It all comes down to the bottom line. And the bottom line is two things. It's both cash flow. For me, that's important, but it's also the potential for capital growth. Well, not too sure about this next one. As most of you are aware, I have been saying for the last 18 months that one day you're going to wake up, and when you're watching sunrise on Channel 7 in the morning, watching your morning news, you're going to hear that the Aussie dollar has fallen. Well, that has come true over the last couple of months. And if you take some time to read the Reserve Bank board meeting, the transcription from that over the last few months, definitely the Reserve Bank is very focused on getting the Aussie dollar back down into the 80s. So I would say to you, right now, I think today it was 91 point something. I know when I bought my first few properties over there in 2010, I got 98 cents. So, you're only 6 or 7 cents in the dollar away from where I started buying properties at the moment. And I highly suggest, if anyone's interested, you need to get your money over there. Even if you don't purchase now, I'd suggest getting your money over there soon, because definitely the Reserve Bank of Australia is very focused on getting that dollar down to help manufacturing and to help other businesses out in Australia that have really been hurting. And it's almost becoming maybe a political issue as well. So none of us are bigger than the Reserve Bank of Australia. So if they're focused on getting the dollar down back into the 80s, then I'd suggest it's probably a good idea to transfer some money over if that's something that you're interested in doing, as in purchasing property at some stage. Let me tell you, we focus very much on certain pockets of America, Las Vegas, but not just anywhere in Las Vegas, certain areas where there's high rental demand. because look, there's no point having an investment property that's in a location where the locals don't want to live, because you want it rented for the majority of time that you hold this property. So, you know, there's key pockets that we focus on. And look, you know, when I first started buying over there in 2010, it was really like buying back in the 1980s. You know, if you could turn the clock back here and buy a property here in Brisbane or Sydney at a price that was sold in the 1980s, you'd do it. You know, so it's very similar to the opportunity we have in America. If you Google Warren Buffett buying property in the USA, you'll see a number of interviews that he's done, but he definitely talks about buying in gloom and selling in boom. And USA property market has been in gloom. It's been at its lowest point. I think it bottomed out, excuse me, at its lowest point somewhere around 18 months ago. Huge potential for capital growth. Yeah, and this the perfect storm of the high dollar. When I say high, look, it's still around 91, 92. That's reasonable, but it's definitely going south. So I just wanted to give you a quick example here, and very shortly I'm going to hand over to Drew, the CEO of Otium. He's sitting here next to me and itching to get some information across to you guys about self-managed super funds. I just wanted to give you an example here. In the USA, this is an example property in Las Vegas that we financed, that we purchased for a client recently, and also the Australian property is a comparable 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit here at Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast. So these are very similar properties. The USA property is 12 years old. The Australian property is 23 years old, so a little bit older. But this will give you an example. If you, on the left-hand side, run through the columns, so you look at the purchase prices, you look at the settlement costs, you realise there's no stamp duty in the USA, so there's a big cost saving there. You look at the comparable incomes, and you look at the gross returns. Fair difference, I'm sure most of you would agree there. Then we look at the expenses. So the expenses are really are quite comparable. When you look at the total monthly expenses, about 5 lines down, the USA is $313 a month, the Australian's $307 a month. So when you take those expenses out, the net return in the USA is about 10% and about nearly 4% in Australia. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is, for me, for Dan Fox, if I've got 75 grand to invest, I'd certainly much rather put that into USA property than maybe use that as a deposit on an Australian property and get into debt for an Australian property. Or if I had 300,000 in Australia, I'd much rather buy maybe 4 properties in the USA than the 1 property in Australia and get the same return. I'm almost getting 4 times the return in the USA. So just wanted to share that with you. If anyone wants any more detail on that, or you want to discuss that further, happy to do that outside of this webinar. And I thought I'd just give you a couple of quick photos and some brief examples of a property that was purchased by one of our clients. You'll notice here, sale price 75, previously peak value 245. I mean, another interview that Warren Buffett gives, he does give the example of, if you can purchase a property wherever it is in the world, doesn't matter, if you can purchase a property less than what it costs to construct that property, then you've got to be ahead of the game. And at some point, as the property values increase and the property market improves, you're going to see the benefits of that. Certainly America's coming out of now a very bad property market, largely because of the GFC. And again, if you want to discuss that further, I know have quite a bit of experience and knowledge around the GFC because of my finance experience, and happy to discuss that further. But just quickly on this property, let me just talk a couple of things through to you. Firstly, the photo in the middle of the screen, you'll see the security gates, where you can probably just see the security gates. So most of the properties that we recommend to our clients, and guys, you don't have to buy through us. That's cool. I'm just telling you about the style of property that we will recommend. So most of the properties we recommend are inside a secured gated complex. Most of them are in a complex where there's a pool, a spa, a barbecue, a gym, and most of them are fairly new properties. When I say new, around the 10-year-old mark. There's a couple of really important reasons we have that strategy of that type of property. One, it's not too old. It's not going to require a huge amount of maintenance ongoing, which is really important to your number crunching and making sure you get value for money. Also, having the pool, the spa, the gated complex, those sorts of things, what that does is it makes it very attractive to rent for the locals. There's a lot of people and if we use Las Vegas as an example, and that's not our only target area, but that is our main target area for a number of strategic reasons. And again, I can discuss that outside this webinar if anyone wants to talk about that. But having these features, there's a lot of people that come into Vegas, they do a 2 or a 3-year stint as a manager of a hotel or a casino or a restaurant or this or that, and they want to live close to the Strip, the Las Vegas Strip. So you'll find most of our condos are 10, maybe 15 minutes away from the Strip. You'll find they want to live somewhere where there is a pool. It gets very hot in summer. So we want our property to be attractive. That way it's rented the majority of the time and you're maximising the amount of income you get from your property. I hope that makes sense. Right, how can you finance these properties? If we use 75 grand as an example, you can pay cash. You can use equity from your property in Australia. You can go in a syndicate with family or friends. We've had some clients do that. You can get finance in the USA. There are some strict conditions. Again, if you're interested, email me, call me, I'll discuss that further. Or you can use a self-managed super fund. What a great lead in. Drew's here now. I'm going to hand over to Drew. Drew's going to tell us a little bit about OTIM and a little bit about self-managed super funds. And if you have any specific questions, guys, about self-managed super funds, you can use the chat function or the question function there and bang some questions in, and at the end we'll be answering those for you. Okay, Drew.
Cheers, thanks Dan. Thanks listeners. While I get myself organised, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Drew Grosskreutz. I'm the CEO of OTIM Group, and our tagline is property super simple. As we see on the screen here, yeah, I'll do that. Sorry for the confusion there. I've got a few pointers here. I'll just go through them one by one. Why was OTIM established? So personally, just like Dan was investing in the US, we were setting up self-managed super funds to buy property in Australia. When we went to do our own, this is back in 2009, there was no rules, there was no guidelines, so I had to invent, or we had to make the process ourselves. I owned an accounting and financial planning firm. You would have thought it would have been easy, but it wasn't. So we've spent the last 5 years perfecting that system and how to actually get property in superannuation. The functions we perform, so my firm has a financial planning license. We're superannuation specialists. We've got chartered accountants in-house. We do all the legal documents such as companies and trusts. Anything to do with superannuation is our bag of tricks, basically. Functions we don't perform. We actually don't sell property. We don't do any mortgage broking. We're purely the administration platform to take clients from point A, which is not known they can use superannuation to own property, right through to them having tenants in that property. We don't find tenants, we don't do anything to do with the property, we actually just hold their hand all the way through. We're a central point for everyone to go to and ask questions. Accountants, lawyers, financial planners, we're that central point. How does it feel owning a property within superannuation? Should be the title there, the heading's just missing there, but what to expect with paperwork. Everyone hears about what a self-managed super fund is. I bang on about how does it feel to have a self-managed super fund and own a property. I've got a saying, a self-managed super fund is just a bank account with rules. It's hard for people to get their head around when I say it that simply, but it is. Your Sun Super, your MLC, your AXA, your Colonial First State, they're just bank accounts, and the rules are within those companies' rules. A self-managed super fund is simply doing the necessary paperwork, which is a heap of paperwork, a company and a trust, to show to or to demonstrate to the ATO that you have enough knowledge to make the decisions about your superannuation. That is, you can buy any asset that has an investment value at a later date. So the money goes into that bank account and you're charged with making decisions. I'm charged with running the super fund and making sure you don't get out of line with the decisions you make. Decisions are you can own property, shares, managed funds, term deposits, old cars, artwork, pottery, anything that has an investment value later on. Now, I don't expect you to go out and start buying pottery that your kids made at primary school to lock away and have an investment value at a later date, but you get the drift. The ATO are satisfied once you set up a self-managed super fund that you're in charge and you're making the investment decisions. Timeframes are pretty tight. They don't happen overnight, so it's generally about a 1 month to get an ABN, Australian Business Number, and then a further 1 month to get your rollovers from your Sun Super or something similar into that bank account. So it is a 2 to 3 month exercise while this is all being set up. I'd love to say I could do it faster. I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver. There's not really much room to move there. I could bang on all day about property and superannuation, but I made a video to make it a lot simpler. The video goes for 4 minutes, so it has some snazzy music in the background, so please hold on for 2 seconds while Dan finds me the video. Okay, yep, there's a questionnaire that's been emailed. Their answers are in the video, so if you want to watch the video and look for that, and we can look at it at a later date. Thanks for watching that. I hope you found it informative. I did all the work on that myself, so any questions you can come to me directly. I did that in the end of last year, so the facts in there still generally remain the same. Now Dan is just fixing up the slides, so we'll just go through because we come at the back. Emailed through to you today was a questionnaire, and out of that questionnaire it's just got a few of the facts from the video. You can find that on my YouTube site, which is the OTM Group site on YouTube, if you want to watch that video again. Fill it out, send it back to Dan or myself, or send it in to Dan, and it'll just have your information there, including your super balance and salary, which helps me understand your position of superannuation and advise you on if it can be done or not. We generally like to see people with a minimum of about 100,000 in super. I am open to conversation less. At 100,000, it is really grounds for all your options. There's a cost to set it up, there's costs to run it, so you're not cutting yourself out of the loop. So once again, open to conversations at any amount under that, just not obviously 20 or 30,000. You've got to have a decent amount, a decent balance there to actually buy the property. Alright, in closing, based on the information we presented there, you can see that owning a property within a self-managed super fund can be achieved. Remember, it's just a bank account with rules. So if your superannuation is sitting there and you've been unhappy with how it's going, and you're not sure how it's going, and now you understand that that money can be used to buy a property, you can start going, well, does it suit me? What do I want to do? We suggest you have a long-term view. Even with people buying property in Australia, I don't think anyone's going to get rich overnight. So just as Dan and USA Property Deals team preach, there's no use trying to go into this and try and make 10, 20, 30,000 in 1 year. You may catch the year, it happens, but I'd suggest looking for long-term wealth and building up multiple properties would be your best bet. I've been speaking at a few seminars lately, and people ask me, or I come to the conclusion that I actually just don't know anyone that made a lot of money from shares. We do have a couple of old BHP clients that made $400,000 or $500,000 from just working for BHP for 40 years, but during or post GFC, that $600,000 turned to $400,000 very quick, and they were counting on all that money, and they hadn't thought to diversify away from just that one stock. Finally, in closing, I really can't stress enough of using a professional service to help you. It's a minefield. And I'm not talking about my service. Any accountant, financial planner can set up a self-managed super fund. We just choose to specialise in property. That's what we do. I'm talking about using a professional service to help you locate, choose, but mainly account for the property over the other side. The ATO are cracking down on this big time. What happens if the ATO cracks down and the file is done wrong? They may make you sell the asset. They may fine you 48.5% of the value of your super fund. The cost in getting it wrong far outweighs the cost of getting advice. So Dan and his team have the right contacts in the USA, which would be the specialist accountant, which I'm mainly interested in. The other, choosing the property and the assets, your part, but actually using a specialist accountant to set up the LLC is what you must do. Trying to do it yourself or buying it the wrong way, the ATO will come down like a ton of bricks and make you exit out of the asset, or maybe tax you an incredible rate. That's me. Dan's going to go on to the education packages. My contact details should be on here, or you can get me on otmgroup.com.au. Have a look at the website. And thanks for your time. I'm going to hand back over to Dan.
Great, thanks Drew. So guys, no doubt there'll be a couple of questions that have come out of that, so take a minute to think about those and bang a message through to us, or alternatively go to otmgroup.com.au. Great website, you'll see the video again if you want to see it. Great video, thanks Drew. Right, so if we talk about USA just for a second, USA Property, the main thing, I don't care if you guys don't buy a property with us. That's cool, you don't have to. But I do say you have to educate yourself. There's various ways to do that. You can go and do that yourself. You can do 18 months like I did. You can do a trip over there and learn the market. You can meet some contacts over there. However, we've got an easy system that will allow you to do all of that 18 months hard work that we've got, and it was put together not only just by me, also by Monty Hook. Some of you may know of Monty, Dave Lovegrove that we introduced you to before, and of course Gene Burns. So what are our 11 steps to safely and confidently invest in the USA property market? So the first step is understanding the USA, understanding what's different between Australia and the USA, and there are some significant differences. Working out, well, what is your strategy? What's right for you? Because it's not the same for everyone. Understanding the legal structures, understanding the structures that you can purchase a property in, and understanding the legals. Understanding how you can finance them if you want to. Understanding about a property team, and what is a property team, do you manage it yourself? Some of you no doubt have Australian investment properties like I do. Do you try and manage that yourself? Most people don't. So why would you try and manage a property in a whole other country by yourself? Doing your due diligence. This is probably the most critical step. It's so important to get this right. If you buy a property that's been misrepresented to you, very often in the States, you don't have much comeback. It's so important to get your due diligence right. Property contracts and understanding them, understanding the different clauses, and having a good legal team that's going to sort that out for you and make sure you don't get ripped off. Because remember my earlier comment, it may be the land of opportunity, but it's also the land of scammers. Understanding what property insurance is and understanding what a home warranty is. We don't have home warranties in Australia. Most of us, before I started investing in the USA, I didn't understand what a warranty was on a property. But certainly a great feature and saved me thousands of dollars by having a home warranty. Property management, understanding, I guess, some different aspects. That there are a lot of differences between how a property is managed in Australia to how it is managed in the USA. Accounting and tax, a huge one. That's this guide, our 11 steps to safely and confidently invest in the USA property market, is 257 pages. And let me tell you, a huge chunk of that is accounting and tax. And the tax component, we actually approached the ATO some time ago and said, look, we're going to go to the market and recommend to clients, like we have, to invest in the USA property market. What advice, tax advice, can you give us? And they gave us a huge volume of information, and we've replicated that information in the 11 Steps Guide. And that definitely will give you a lot of pointers, a lot of tips, and save you a lot of money. And finally, bringing it all together, understanding what your plan is, and then creating your future based on, if we go back 15, 20 minutes ago when I talked to you about, well, what is your reason for investing? You know what mine is. You saw the photo of my 3 boys there. That's my reason, but I don't know what your reason is. Everyone's got their own reason. So you need to work out what your reason is, and we need to put a plan in place to make that happen. So I guess that's what the 11 steps is. It's about it's a do-it-yourself system. If you want to go and find your own property, the whole reason this came about, I'll just tell you a very quick story because I've got to wrap it up. We're nearly done. We've got to open up some question time. When we started this, we thought, oh, this is great. We'll get our team over in America and they'll identify great properties, and we'll put those out to our clients and see if they want to buy them. What we found though was a lot of clients didn't want to purchase through us. They wanted to do it themselves. They wanted to find little bargains themselves and little pockets and do it themselves. So what we thought was, well, rather than fight that and tell people, no, you've got to buy with us, we don't believe in that. Like, I'm independently wealthy. I don't need to, this is not about making my buying my groceries and paying for my living expenses. USA Property Deals is something I'm very passionate about. If it doesn't make any money, that's okay. I'm okay, Having said that, we saw a lot of people getting burnt, so we wanted to put together a do-it-yourself kit, I suppose, explaining to people, if you want to go and do it yourself, that's cool, but at least educate yourself so that you're not going to get burnt. Because there are plenty of Americans that will want to take your money. It's a tough economy. They've been through hell and back. You think we're going through a recession. It's nothing compared to what they've been through. And if you go and you spend some time over there, you'll understand what I'm saying. And there are people out there, and their job every day is waking up in the morning thinking, how can we scam someone out of some money? And look, unfortunately, it's very sad, but that is what some people do. And if you don't protect yourself and if you don't educate yourself, there's a high chance you're going to get scammed. So this, in effect, prevents people from getting scammed. And I'm very proud that we've put this together. And if you're interested, talk to us afterwards. We'll give you more information. We'll even give you one of the steps as an example, as a free example, so you can see the detail in each step. Cool. So how do you educate yourself? Of course, there's our do-it-yourself education kit we've just spoken about. Or you can come on a property buying tour where you actually come with me in October this year, September, October this year, and you actually do the whole education component. You meet all of the people over there, the accountants, the attorneys, blah, 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 and you actually get access to properties over there to buy if you're interested in that. Tonight, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the property buying tour. A couple of people on this seminar tonight have actually done a prior property tour with us, and I'm pleased that you guys have come back and you're looking for more information. That's great. 5 days in Las Vegas, 2 days in the classroom education, 2 days as a property tour. You get to meet Dave and Jean. You get to meet the whole team. So you'll have all of those contacts. If you then want to go and do it yourself and find your own properties, you've then got the attorney, the accountant, the property manager, the tax agent. You've got everything. So I'm actually over there September 30 to October 4 doing a property buying tour. I can tell you we're not taking any more than 10 people. I've been party to one where there were 52 people. And I've been party to a property buying tour where there was only 3 people. And let me tell you, once it starts to get over 10, you're not getting your individual questions answered. You're not getting that individual attention. So we will not be taking any more than 10. And bear in mind, 10, that includes partners. So if you've got a partner, we're really talking 5 people plus partners. So it's an intimate tour, but it's well worth it. And if you're serious about the USA property, even if you don't want to buy with us, it's a great education for yourself, and you'll walk away with the education kit totally understanding what it is you need to do to protect yourself and move forward in USA property. Tonight we have a webinar special. We're taking $1,000 off both prices. So if you're interested in the education kit, or if you want to come on the property buying tour, and the property buying tour, that does include your airfare. So in conclusion, guys, there's our 2 websites, both OTIUM and USA Property Deals. I'm just going to have a look now and see, look at any questions that we may have. Thank you. I can see that actually at this point in time at 6:47, no one's dropped off the webinar so far. That's great. Let me just bear in mind with me, as I said, guys, I'm a little bit new to this system. Okay, here are the questions. Excuse me. Why can't I get that? Clicking on that. That's okay, here we go. Did that click on that? Sorry guys, bear with me, it's a little technical issue. Great, here we go. That's right, I've got it now, thank you. Okay. Right, so I'm just running through these questions. Okay, someone's just asked, do we have any particular properties? Yes, we do. Yes and no. The problem with Vegas and Phoenix are our two main areas. Why do we look at Vegas and Phoenix? They're probably two of the areas that were most impacted by the GFC and the property market crash. So when you're looking at buying an investment property, a lot of people say you make your money when you buy. So for us, we want to buy at the lowest possible price and know that the property was purchased previously at a much higher price. So we've got a very high opportunity there, very high chance that eventually, when the property market comes back, let's say if a property was previously sold for $250,000, we're now buying it for $75,000 or say $80,000, we know that at some point the property is going to go back to being worth what the previous person paid for it. So $250,000. It might take 5 years, it might take 10 years. I don't know how long it's going to take. But we know that that capital growth will come. So the reason we're focused on Vegas and Phoenix is because there's the highest opportunity for that capital growth. Now, the next problem we've got in those two locations, a lot of investors playing in those markets, and have been for a number of years. So when properties come on the market, they go very quickly. Buyers that are cashed up, have money over there in their LLC, ready to go, will get preference. You've got to understand, if you're a seller over in the US market, there's generally a reason you're selling. You've got a financial problem. You've had a marriage breakup. You need to get out of Vegas and get back to home, wherever home is, and you need to get out of the property. So there's an urgency, generally. Now, if you take a contract from someone in Australia who hasn't set up their company, hasn't got any money in America, or you got a contract from an international investor who's already set up his company, who's got his money over there, sitting in a bank account, ready to go, which contract are you going to take? You're going to take the one that's ready to go because you've got a sense of urgency, and that's just from the seller's point of view. So, having said all of that, what that really means is that as properties come onto the market, they're released either by the banks because they've been a foreclosed property, or maybe we've stumbled across a private sale, then they move very quickly. So when you're asking about do we have any properties, we may have a couple of properties that are available right now because they're ex-clients. There's one client in particular who's got a terminal health issue, and he's decided to sell out of his properties that he purchased over there. So those properties are available. However, most properties, generally the process that we most likely follow most times is people will set up their LLC, their limited liability company. They'll get some money transferred over and into the bank account of their LLC, so they control it. They're not giving the money to us. It's going into their bank account, and they'll be ready. And then once we know they're ready, bang, we'll start making some offers. Gene and Dave and the team over there will identify, okay, exactly what's your priority for a property. Is it a condo, i.e. a unit or a townhouse? Is it a house and land? What is your particular property that's right for your strategy? Once we know that, we'll then start making some offers, and then we'll come back to you with photos, video, building inspection, and then you make a decision from there. But because you've set your company up, you've got the money over there, the seller and the real estate agents will take you seriously. So to answer your question is, we only have limited properties right now that we could email you tomorrow, for example. What we'd rather do is go through the process with you, help you set up your LLC, explain to you how you can open your bank accounts from here. There's a process to do that. Get your money there, get ready. Once you know you're ready, we know you're ready, then bang, we can start making offers and get properties for you. Hope that answers that question. Let me look at the next question. Okay, this is probably a question for Drew. Can I pull money out of my super to buy property? let me just hand over to Drew and he's going to answer that question.
Very common question, and I get it all the time with Australian property as well. No, you can't pull money out of your super unless you've met the restrictions which the government put on. So if you're currently 55 or over, you'd be able to retire and take money out. For younger folk, those under 50 right now would be 60 and over. So yeah, you definitely can't take money out of super and buy property unless you met those restrictions, which are your age restrictions. Outside that, it'd have to be bought inside super. We have another question. Can you invest, say, 10 or 15,000 from my super into a property? With the shift in the dollar, I'm a bit low on cash to buy. No. Once that, I'm thinking that one again is taking money out of your superannuation. Yep, definitely can't.
Thanks, Drew. Next question is, which city or cities is the tour? Is it only Vegas? Yes. For 2013, yes, Las Vegas is the only tour. Okay. What if I'm already going to be there around September to October? Can I join in, and at what cost? Yes, you can. Thank you for your message. We will, the price, the discounted price tonight, the $4,995, does include your airfare. So we would simply deduct the airfare component from that, which I believe is around $1,800 is what we've allowed for that budget, and you could simply pay the difference and join in on the tour. Cool. Okay. Let me see if there's any other. So your focus is on capital growth properties. What about positive cash flow type properties? Well, really good question. Let me tell you, my focus is kind of actually about both. So for me personally, each of my properties that I buy are positively cash flowed. I do not purchase any properties that aren't positive cash flow. I'm not interested in putting money out of my wallet every week into an investment. To me, that's not an investment. That's that's just another bloody bill to pay. So for me, a true investment is something that you do invest in, and then each week or each month, money can go into your wallet, not out of your wallet. So we won't actually recommend any properties that we don't believe are cash flow positive. That's the first thing. Secondly, yes, we are very much interested in capital growth properties for sure. I think there's a balance there. It kind of depends on what you're looking for, and if you'd like a one-on-one or a phone hookup with me or Drew, we're certainly happy to give an hour of our time to anyone that's on the webinar tonight that wants more information. You've got my email address. You've got otiumgroup.com.au as well. Drew's the CEO there, and either of us are happy to give some time to anyone that's got more detailed questions. Cool, thank you for that question. Let me see if there's any others. Okay, price range currently. Okay, look, let me tell you, if we use Vegas as an example, you can buy properties in Vegas as low as probably 20-25 grand. Are they going to be quality properties? No. Are you going to have problems renting them? Yes. But if you want a quality property, something that we would recommend, that I would personally buy, you're talking somewhere around 75 to 80,000. That's going to be a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo, very similar to that example property that I showed you in the webinar, inside a secure complex, a gated complex, pool, spa, gym, that sort of thing. Something that's attractive to the locals. Again, like I said earlier, we want to make sure it's rented the majority of the time. When you turn tenants over, which invariably does happen, we don't want your property to be unrented for 2 months, 3 months, those sorts of things. Cool. Let me just see if there's any other questions. Yep, okay. Okay, so does the money come from savings, my own property, to buy a US property? So it could do if you've got your own savings. Certainly the best way, in my opinion, to purchase property in the USA is using your own cash. That way you're avoiding all the expenses of finance, interest rates, costs to set up loans, cost to set up self-managed super funds, sure. So if you've got your own savings, great, that's a great way to invest. If you've got equity in your own property here in Australia, you can certainly set up a line of credit. We can assist with that, or you may have your own finance broker or your own bank manager that can assist with that. Set that up, and then we use HighFX, highfx.com.au, and anyone that's a client of ours, I'm happy to give you a reference number, and basically that entitles you to the same exchange rate that I personally get when I transfer money to the US each time, or I transfer it back. And just on that, when we're talking about currency exchanges, so I just want to get your head around the fact that hypothetically, let's say you're transferring money to the US today at 92 cents, and in 3 years' time you sell your property and it's at 81 cents, hypothetically. Not only have you got the capital gain out of the property, but you're also picking up on the exchange rate difference. I hope that makes sense. If you'd like to know more information about that and understand that a little bit further, we can do some specific examples and explain that to you a little bit more. But for me, I got my first couple of properties over there at 98 cents in the dollar. So now at 92 cents, there's 6 cents in the dollar I've picked up just on the currency exchange. And when you use someone like HighFX and you're a regular client of theirs, like I am, our clients get their best rates, and you almost get exactly the same rate as you see on the TV that's advertised when you watch Sunrise or whatever in the morning. You see the exchange rate, that's it. If you go to your own bank, you'll actually find the bank will skim 2, 3, 4% off the top of that. That's their profit margin. So when you do a high volume of transactions, like not our business, but our business and our clients combined, we do quite a high transaction with a company called highfx.com.au, and if anyone is interested in transferring money over there, if you want to email me, I'll share with you our reference number, because the more people that come through our account, not only do you get a better price, but it continues them giving us the sharpest pricing we can when it comes to exchange rates. Cool, let me see if there's any other questions. Far out, you guys are busy with questions tonight. You know home and away started, don't you? Alright, let me have a look here and answer these last couple. Does the tour price include accommodation and or meals? How long is the US education in Vegas? Very good questions. Okay, so there are a couple of things that aren't included in the $4,995. As you can understand, if that includes your airfare and the cost of your education, there's not a lot left, guys. We're not making a lot of money out of this, as you can understand. Having said that, so what it doesn't cost does not include, what it doesn't include does not include your accommodation. Generally, what we like to do on each of the property buying tours that we've done in the past is we encourage everyone to stay in the same location, and it's always in a hotel on the Strip, for a number of reasons. A lot of people that come over on a property buying tour, they've not been to Vegas before. It's a great experience. You want to enjoy it. You want to be on the Strip. We generally don't stay at the Caesars Palace or the Arias and Bellagio's, because they are quite expensive. But we'll stay somewhere very close to them. Generally, it's going to cost you about $100 a night in accommodation. So you need to allow $500 for accommodation. It does not include your meals, and it does not include drinking or gambling. So those couple of things, you'll need to account for as well. How long is the education in Vegas? So what we do is we do 1 day in a classroom type environment. Normally it's in the boardroom at our accountants or the property managers. So you'll spend it really is, guys, it's an intensive day. It kicks off early and it will run late, and we run through the whole 11 steps. Every one of those 257 pages in the 11 steps, you will touch and go through each one of those pages. You'll have an opportunity for questions and answers throughout the day at any time. So you will run through that whole thing in 1 day. It's a big day. You'll be exhausted after getting there as well. So generally it's an early night after the first night. The second night is where we go and we meet all of the contacts that I've made over the years. So you'll meet the accountant, you'll meet the tax agent, you'll meet the attorney, you'll meet the property manager, you'll meet the building inspector. you'll meet Dave Lovegrove, you'll meet Gene Burns. So you'll have an opportunity to meet and make those contacts, and anyone that's on our team, they've given me an undertaking that if any of my clients contact them, they'll respond within 24 to 48 hours as a maximum. Now, that might sound strange, but let me tell you, if you've tried buying USA property from Australia, you will send 1 million emails to real estate agents and accountants and attorneys, and you'll be lucky if you get one reply. They're just not interested. As soon as they know you're in Australia, you haven't set up a company, you haven't got your money over there, they're just not interested because, you know, you're not ready to go. So it's important for us to, you know, once you've been over there, you've done the tour, we get you ready to go, and then it's up to you. I hope that answers that question. Right, let's look at the next one. Okay, and how does this get rejigged to become part of my super portfolio? So, good question there. Generally what we'd say, and if I don't quite get this right, Drew, you cut in on me please, but basically what we're suggesting is that you would educate yourself about the USA property market first. You would make sure that you believe that that is a right strategy for you. If that's the case, then we hand over to Drew. Drew sets up the self-managed super fund, the companies, all those sorts of things. Then when we make the purchase in the USA, you're making it in the right entity's name. You're not having to buggerise around with changing names and doing things at a later point in time because you've set it up right from the start. Drew's given me the thumbs up. Okay, is there capital gains taxed? Very good question. There can be, is the answer to that question. There may, depending on how you purchase the property, that's a more involved question, and I'd be happy to delve in a little bit more detail on that because it really is quite a detailed question, because depending on the entity that you purchase the property in, whether you bring the income back to Australia or not, you know, we'll determine that. We have a whole section in our 11 steps training manual that covers that off as well. Can I claim the trip to the States each year to inspect the property? Another good question. Now, bear in mind, I'm not an accountant and I can't give you specific accounting or financial advice. However, I can tell you that my accountant has advised that under certain circumstances, yes, I can claim a trip to the United States each year to inspect my investment property. There are certain criteria. You can't be in America for more than 2 weeks, and there's only certain things you can claim. So one of our clients, for example, was trying to claim a trip to Vegas with a stopover in Hawaii, and they were pulled up by the ATO because they weren't allowed to claim the whole airfare because there was a stopover in Hawaii, which obviously was not related to their investment property. So there's a few terms and conditions around that, but in general, yes, you can claim it as long as you follow those particular terms. Okay, has the bubble burst, i.e. everyone already bought out Vegas and Phoenix? Good question. Obviously that is a question from someone who has not been to Vegas or Phoenix, and they do not understand the quantity of properties that are over there, and they don't understand the property market. So let me tell you, when you start to do some more research and you start to understand the property market, and I'd love to talk to you one-on-one. I'll just see who it was that put that question up, and I'll certainly talk to you after today's webinar and give you some more understanding about that. America is an amazingly huge place, and Australia is just so small in comparison. Sorry I came in late, guys. Drew explained to me that we use our related party loan doc to lend the LLC our money overseas so that we can charge the interest and wipe off the USA earning, as explained by accountant when we were over there. Okay. Cool. That looks like maybe a question for Drew, and too technical for the webinar, but certainly Drew can be in touch and answer that in more detail for you. Home and away, fuck me. Good on you, whoever that was. Thanks very much. All right, always good to have a bit of comedy on one of these things. Look, guys, let me say thank you. It's nearly 7:10. I appreciate your attendance on this webinar. I will call now just for any last questions. If you'd like to bang them through on a message, I'm checking those as we speak. Failing that, you've got our email address, you've got our websites. We're really here to give you guys more information. If you don't want to, from USA Property Deals point of view, if you don't want to purchase a property with us, that's totally cool. There's no dramas. Like I said, there's no pressure. But I highly recommend you educate yourself. And those of you that are serious about purchasing over there, you should come on the buying trip. But remember, it's limited to the first 10. So 4,995, and that includes your airfare. First week of October in Vegas. It's a great trip. There's a lot of, I've certainly made a lot of friends, and I've certainly made a lot of business contacts and other investors who share information with each other. It's an amazing trip. There's lots to learn, and there's lots to learn about the Australian property market that you can learn over there as well by sharing information with each other, and some of the concepts and things that you learn about the USA property market can actually be brought back and applied in Australia as well. All right, thank you very much for attending. I can't see any other questions that have come through. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, or you think of a question at a later point, bang us an email or give us a call. We'd be only too happy to answer those. Thanks very much, guys.